Hello, and welcome everyone to today's panel. Very pleased to be here and like to thank you for the invitation from the organization committee. I'm Tony Jurgens with ESP Company. We're a German-based architectural design and urban planning company. It's not my first visit to Tashkent, I must say, but as more I come, as more impressed I get with every visit. So it's really nice to see how the city is constantly developing. The conference today and yesterday was also one more sign in which Tashkent and the whole region is developing, which is also very positive what we see. And always when I come back, I'm always becoming like a private ambassador already of Uzbekistan and Tashkent because the people are very warm, very welcoming here. And what we see also, there's a strong professionalism already happening here in Tashkent. And especially with the construction industry, I think it's one of the main industries right now which is also developing very fast and at very impressive speed. So it's always something I like to promote with our colleagues and friends, because unfortunately the whole region of Central Asia is not as known as it should be yet, so I believe that forum today and yesterday is also a great opportunity, yes, to show the world basically what you have to offer, and what are the opportunities in the future. So today, in this roundtable or panel we have now, we will talk about the modern industry of construction building materials. I think what the differences is in today's time is that we are not just facing one challenge throughout the world, we are facing multiple challenges which are, even sometimes crises, so to speak, which we all have to solve at once. So there are many pressing issues which we like to talk about today and need to find out how we can solve them all at once, because each of the issues we have are very important ones which we cannot oversee. So the modern industry of construction building materials is dynamically developing sector of the economy. However, new technologies and external crises impose on the entire industry the need to change the way it works in everything. In the near future, the construction industry will increasingly focus on green standards and technologies aimed at respect for resources, housing safety, and creating a comfort and living environment. So how to transform the construction and building materials industry to rapidly changing trends? This is one of the questions. And what reforms in these areas are planned in Uzbekistan? And most importantly, of course, what are the opportunities for the investors in this area in Uzbekistan? So for that, I think we have a great panel today which can cover all these aspects and all these questions we will have and would like to discuss today. So I'd like to welcome Davronjon Adilov, which is the Deputy Minister of Construction, Housing and Communal Services of the Republic of Uzbekistan. Very welcome. Thanks for being here. We also like to welcome Shokpur Gultareyev, Deputy Chairman of Usnarod Kurilish Bank. Sorry for not pronouncing it correctly. This is the most difficult word I have to speak today. I hope I got it right. Third one, I would like to welcome Peng Shengying, the General Director in Uzbekistan of Shanghai Construction Group. I'd like to welcome Vladimir Ivanovov, founder ECM Group of Germany. And I'd like to welcome Murat Miraziyev, Deputy Minister, Ministry of Investment, Director of Investment Promotion Agency under the name of Investment, Industry and Trade in the Republic of Uzbekistan. So thanks for being here and welcome everyone to the panel. I'd like to start just with the first question since we just have 1 hour time. So we like to go through the topics quickly, that we can cover all aspects since we have learned already there's not just one challenge we have to come, there are multiple challenges we have to work on. So first question, probably to Murat, would be how does the government of Uzbekistan support or require the introduction of green energy in construction, and are there any benefits for investors from implementing these higher standards?
Which language shall we continue? Russian?
Please.
Русский? Спасибо за вопрос.
Thank you for your question. The question is not simple, it's pretty wide. Because today, if we talk about implementing green energy, the construction history, if we talking about the new technology, it's a second story. But if we talk about the manufacturing, it's a third part of the question. All this field, we all have to do the simultaneous steps, and I would say that we need to do a lot of things. We can divide it in 1, 2, and 3. We can divide it to manufacturing. Here in Uzbekistan, they're doing a big steps that we start manufacturing the new materials by new technologies. It's really efficient, saving energy by the saving energy materials. And who is doing construction, they understanding more and more that the bricks are becoming less, and from the government legacy, the regulatory, we need more. We're not going to use all the technologies, so we're switching to a new one. And also, there's a question that's about the facade materials. There's a lot of the wide average of things that if we talk about the manufacturing, about the materials for the front works, about the efficient, about the cold and hot weather. So we also thinking about the make it electric. It's about the manufacturing. If we how to use these materials, this question is coming like what kind about the companies and the people who's interested to implement and install it in their buildings, in their manufacturers, and also about the civil buildings, about the and all about all about the cost, about how to use this energy, so that you're paying less when you implement the low energy efficient systems. This question is also by choose of the constructors and the people. Right now, the constructors they know how to calculate the price, and they dictate like what to do, what implement, and what to manufacture, what have to do this. The private sector need to produce to buy their factories or civil buildings. This is the second, and the third one is it's combining with construction and
строительстве, когда мы говорим о жилом.
Generation energy. Here we talk about the phones and and some of the fields we cannot use the wind power as well. In Uzbekistan, we have 320 days in year. We have we have a sun, so we can use the solar power. And here is the question is coming up to install to all of the administration buildings the solar panels. So if we talk about the private sector, there was a program that pushing people to install this kind of system. Unfortunately, this system isn't that cheap yet, and we're gonna try to make it less costly, and all this helps of the people returning the price of this equipment in a building. So we just returning 30% of the cost of it. It's a really good concept that in this installing this system in houses on a system SQR, they can sell overdue energy to the government. This is really good for our energetic sector as well, and the regulation should also was worked out as well. And on this side, the government is also taking it very serious. So which companies who is doing for the manufacturer level the solar panels and generate the electricity after the solar generation and make a heating system as well, they will get their own benefits as well. With the tax benefits, you don't have to pay the tax for the on the land, and about the question with the period of the bonuses of the payment of the for 25 years, and so that a lot of mechanisms was worked on that part, and we are not standing in one, and we developing each day by day, every day. It's this question is really interesting, but also very hard as well. If we take the Germany, we know that in Germany, in Germany they developed green energy, not the manufacturers was built, but the green energy they built from the civil sector, only from there. The question is very interesting that we have to support the construct the civil funds, combining with generation power and new technologies and then new materials in construction. I would have answered like this.
Right. Thank you, Murat. I mean, that was great and very interesting. And you mentioned Germany, and coming from Germany, we really have the problems you just mentioned. The civil sector is trying to go green, but it's not an easy task. It comes with a lot of cost, especially we just have a law in place to add, solar panels to houses, just what you mentioned, but it's very difficult to do without the support of the government. So what we are hearing and understanding, Rod, is that really the government is behind the green standards and supporting the civil and the industry sector, so to speak, to implement those standards. That's correct, right? Perfect. And this is a very right step. I can encourage you to do so, because even Germany, with already a developed country, it's, I think, the biggest challenge we have to overcome, to not only convince, to finance the private and also the corporate sector, to make the investments into green energy. So if there's support from government, I think that is the right sign you are giving, so to speak, to really implement those standards in the future. And again, I can encourage you, that is the future, and if you start with it early on, you have that opportunity to do it now before the main new development starts. So take it serious. I'd like to encourage you. I'm great to hear that you're already doing it. Compliments. Thank you. So I'd like to address maybe Daronjon. I mean, because you're working, in the construction housing, so really deep into that construction issue, the day-to-day issues, you have to resolve. So how do you react and prepare to the shift of green and all these ESG-friendly construction projects? And what are the challenges and also, of course, opportunities in those biggest market to implement those standards? I mean, because you are really day-to-day working, I think, on these issues with your projects. Thank you.
Thank you very much. O'zbek tilida gapiraman, ruxsat bersangiz. Assalomu alaykum, hurmatli yig'ilish qatnashchilari, forum ishtirokchilari. Sizlarni albatta bu anjumanda ko'rib turganimdan juda ham xursandman. Bu anjumanga qatnashayotgan mehmonlarimizni, investorlarimizni hammaligini albatta yurtimizga bo'lgan hurmatligi va oxirgi yillarda mamlakatimizda olib borilayotgan islohotlarga bo'lgan yuksak ishonchligidan shu yerda kelib ishtirok etishyapti deb bilaman. Haqiqatan ham oxirgi paytda dunyo miqyosida, dunyo iqtisodiyotida, dunyo siyosatida ro'y berayotgan o'zgarishlar oldindan bashorat qilib bo'lmaydigan muammolarni, oldindan bashorat qilib bo'lmaydigan, oldindan aytib bo'lmaydigan muammolarni yuzaga keltirib chiqaryapti. Bu muammolarni hammamiz ko'rib yashab, bu bilan birga hamohang yashab turibmiz. Bu muammolarning asosiysi bugun haqiqatan ham energiya resurslaridan oqilona foydalanish bo'lyapti. Albatta energiya resurslarini bir tarafi uni ishlab chiqarish va yetkazib berish bo'lsa, eng asosiysi undan foydalanish. Bugungi kunda zamonaviy qurilish yoki zamonaviy qurilish materiallari deganda o'z-o'zidan kunni asosiy muammosi bo'lgan bu qurilishdagi energiya tejamkorlik va energiya tejamkor materiallar va qurilishdagi energiya tejamkor bo'lgan qurilishga bo'lgan standart talablari. Tarjima qilinmayaptimi?
The English translation is not working. Chinese, okay, thank you.
One more time, please. Is it working now? In the meantime, that we talk about the new technologies and new materials and the manufacturing of the new one. Mr. John, can you hear us?
We are speaking about energy saving production and industries, and as you well know,
Yashil iqtisodiyot
there was a strategy of a new Uzbekistan aimed to 2025, and in accordance with this strategy, we are going to decrease emissions of greenhouse emissions and decrease amount of carbon print, and we have ambitious goals, and in order to achieve these goals we need to develop energy saving green economy, and together with benefits that were provided to investors who will contribute to green economy, we in our legislation we are creating conditions for development of energy saving industry, and for example today in our market for example we have financing. We adopted 5% rate of with reduced credits that we allocate for mortgage, and according to many banking systems, I mean that our idea, new construction, new buildings should be energy saving and should be covered with energy saving materials, and we applied this demand, and it was a standard for our construction, and we determined that multi-story buildings need to be constructed by the energy saving list, and if someone would like to take credit to buy a flat in such a multi-story building, our government provides 5% discount. And as you know, we are building a lot of multi-story buildings, not only in our capital, but in many remote districts, and we also provide benefits in condition if that they are constructed using energy-saving materials. For example, about 50% of the roof surface there should be special solar panels and solar batteries, and this will allow to supply all the inhabitants to have their own warm water, and they will have enough electricity, and these goals we set before our entrepreneurs, and in order to develop green economy in our country. And about 30% of energy provided by renewable resources should should be obtained from their entrepreneurs, should obtain from their own construction and from their own batteries. And since Uzbekistan has a lot of sunny days, about 328 days are sunny, we adopted norms on mandatory basis using solar panels and solar batteries, and we are going to update our standards in order to improve production of renewable energy. And we also conduct works on reconstruction and reinstallation of our boiler rooms, and because, as you know, our system is quite ancient, and we are making reconstruction these days in order to have more energy efficient industry. And besides that, we are constructing new residential areas, and in many cities we have a lot of constructions, and we are building a lot of multi-story buildings, and we are using a centralized heating system that will be working by means of solar energy. And we are implementing several projects aimed at obtaining solar energy for this. And this year we are actively implementing 14 projects on solar energy in multi-story buildings, and I'm speaking about 26 buildings, and in some of them we already launched this system, and we already have solar energy, and this will reduce greenhouse emissions into the atmosphere. And these are our goals according to our new strategy of New Uzbekistan. And when we construct new buildings, for us it's important for us to construct buildings and use special panels, fiber panels, because they are made of fiber, and this is very stable material, and it is very convenient in our climate, because we are using a lot of energy for cooling our apartments, and that's why such type of materials, ceramic materials, will be very reasonable solution. And we are working on adaptation of our construction works of manufacturing of these materials. And as you all know very well, we use aluminum frameworks, and there are several manufacturers who produce aluminum frameworks, and this system requires all international standards, and we are updating this base and their regulatory framework. Thank you very much.
Impressive, and I think also impressive to the audience, as I just heard, because this is again coming from Europe or Germany, where we talk since many, many years of how to implement these standards. You're already doing it. You are ahead of the curve, I would say, and I think you mentioned the right points. I mean, the support is important because there are always costs involved, extra costs involved in implementing those standards, which are very difficult in the private sector to obtain. So I think these are the right instruments you're doing right now to motivate and, yes, to realize basically the transition to the green economy, because this is needed and this is what lacking in many countries is the governmental support or giving special conditions to do so. So yes, I mean, compliments again, this is the right way to go. So when did you start to implement those standards? Because it already sounds that you are, I mean, progressing very fast. So is it already years back, or when did the process started to think about how to implement green and ESG standards?
Standartlar bo'yicha albatta hozir Koreyaniki ICT
We started our work on adaptation of our standards about our norms and standards. So we are adopting them to international standards, and we started this project for about several years, for about more, about 20 of our norms were adapted to international standards. And today we are working on implementation of Eurocode standards in our construction standards. And in this sphere, we learned Turkish standards, first of all, which were approved on international level, and standards from the Republic of Belarus and other countries. And in the nearest future, we are going to introduce our new project, green building, and this standard, of course, will be developed on the basis of international standards of constructing of green buildings, and we developed and designed this in adaptation to our climate.
Because as I mentioned before, there's unfortunately not just one challenge we are facing in the modern construction industry. There are multiple challenges we're facing at one time. So my question to Shubha Guterres is, in addition to the transition to environmentally friendliness, social responsibility, we believe, and we see it also in Germany, the biggest problem of today is the increase in construction costs, which we see not month by month, which we see already day by day. So how are you responding to this rapidly rising material and construction costs? What measurements maybe can the government take to support investors to balance rising costs and to private still affordable housing and commercial viable projects to the community? That would be very interesting to hear, because this is in Germany right now one of the biggest challenges.
Thank you very much for the question. I will try to address this question in English. First of all, I would like to mention that our bank, due to the wide experience during the century-long history and wide experience related in construction industry, has been appointed as the supporting bank for the construction materials industry. And as such, reduction of construction materials cost is one of our most priority areas. So during early stages of the construction boom, which our country is experiencing now, we witnessed that the high proportion of construction materials were imported. So if we dive into the cost structure of the imported construction material goods, we can see that the import-related costs like transportation and logistics costs are very significant. And therefore, we determined that the production localization of materials for which our economy has the comparative advantage as the lowest hanging fruit in terms of the cost reduction. As a result, comparing to 2021, the demand coverage by locally produced construction materials increased significantly. For instance, for plastic linoleum coverage increased for 20% and forecasted to reach 93% by the end of 2023. And as for insulation materials, coverage increased for 14%, and it's forecasted to reach 81%. For ceramics, the coverage increased for 10% and forecasted to reach 79%. And as for plastic floor coverings and PVC pipes and fittings, the coverage increased for 8% and 4% correspondingly, and it's planned forecasted to reach approximately 100% by the end of 2023. As another initiative for the cost reduction, the construction and construction material clusters have been established all over the country, and these clusters have the several competitive edges, including the wide industry competence and economies of scale. And this gives them opportunity to cut the costs, and due to the fact that they cover whole supply chain, this is the additional factor that the production of the construction materials by such kind of clusters can allow them to cut the prices and cut costs for construction firms. And the statistics shows us that due to the establishment of these kind of clusters gave the opportunity to cut the prices for approximately 10% for construction materials. Additionally, according to the presidential decree, the subsoil tax for cement producers have been cut from 45,000 Uzbek sums to 22,500 Uzbek sums. It means for 50%. And there are preferential customs tariffs for imports of equipment, raw materials for facade stone producers, and till the January 1st, 2025. Also, there is the 50% profit and property tax preference for construction materials industry companies. And as a result, countrywide market price monitoring indicates that due to all the above-mentioned initiatives aimed at the cost reduction of construction materials, we are seeing that the average prices for linoleum, heating, radiators, wallpapers, marbles, cement, and other materials are staying stable in the market or even decreasing, notwithstanding the fact that the demand for these kind of products increasing stable. That's all. Thank you very much. Thank you for your attention.
I thank you, and again, these are very interesting news basically to hear, because besides, the costs which are rising in construction all over the world, the second problem we have is availability, so because you just mentioned the supply chain, so we experience in Europe a big lack of materials, no matter what the costs are. So with you going independent, going local and start building up these clusters, you will have two advantages. First, you will be able to a certain extent to control the cost, and to the second, you will be fully in control of the supply chain. I think this is a great advantage. At the moment, what we see in Europe and Germany, what is hindering the construction at most is not even the financial market, which is also very difficult, but it is the cost increase of materials, which is very difficult to sacrifice, especially in residential developments. And the second is really its availability. You're waiting in Europe for materials for a while that you cannot even start construction sometimes. So, doing these two things, I think it's a very important step to be independent. I think that is very interesting to hear for investors because, again, in Europe, this is now our biggest challenge we have. You have already starting to resolve it, so that will be very welcoming for everyone. And second thing, of course, the custom issue, it's always also for foreign investors a big issue to understand. And also there we see measurements has been taken. I also think this is a very big step in the right direction. So again, congratulations. I mean, this is something investors love to hear and will provide a very, very investor-friendly environment, especially in these difficult conditions we all have today. Thank you very much. So I like to turn to Vladimir because on the other hand, we talked a lot about green economy, we talked about costs. What we didn't talk too much about is yet technologies, but we are living basically in a century of technologies. We see very, very many industry moving ahead, using technologies basically as a tool to improve all their businesses. And yes, and the question is how the construction industry implements those standards. So basically, if we talk about the most modern construction practices, what technologies are currently being used? And this is, I think, the big question, can they be applied to project in Uzbekistan already today? So I'd love to hear from Vladimir. Thank you.
Tonya, thank you. Thank you for your question. But first, I will later on switch into Russian because it's maybe more comfortable for the audience. And second point is that the cost of materials and actually cost of construction that you mentioned in the previous discussion is actually what is on issue on top of everything, maybe after ESG issues, yeah, and all these climate issues also. So, я хочу сказать, что последние там 2-3 года мы практически на всех рынках, на которых мы работаем, мы встречаем.
On all the markets that we are working, we are facing the issue with cost of construction. I'm speaking about logistics. Logistics also becoming more costly, and all the materials are becoming more expensive. And we suspended several projects with Germany. And in construction of buildings, I know that in Germany there is a shortage of buildings for citizens, and we need to fight with these issues, and we need to have more competition. We need to produce more. But today we cannot produce more and build more because product cost is higher, and people cannot take loans because loans are very expensive, and this situation is quite tricky. And Tony is an architect, and our company is engineering company, and we are working for architects when our customer wants to have landmark in the city, some object, let's say. And about our work in Uzbekistan, you know, we have objects that we designed several years ago. This is Tashkent City Park, if I'm not mistaken. It's number 8 load, and we constructed that and we designed that. And while doing this design, we had a lot of difficulties. We wanted to use a lot of modern solutions, but we had to make it a little bit different because of industry capabilities. And those technologies that we used not that modern, because today, you know, all the technologies are growing very rapidly. There are a lot of transformations, a lot of updates. I'm speaking about a digital product. And you see several iconic photos on my slides. This is a building in Sydney, of course. This is very beautiful building, and today we can design it for a much faster period of time because we use digital methodology, digital tools, and digital tools of mathematics give us opportunity to make this design much faster for a short period of time. And second trend is a European trend. Today we have a lot of orders on module construction. I'm speaking about urbanization, and people are made, and developers and governments are made to address the construction industry, and there we also need to use digital technologies. And on this slide, you see on the left a new building that was constructed in the capital of Russia, and on the right, this is an object in Germany that was also designed digitally, and this digital model was used while constructing this building. And who are these people who do this, who create this data? And who uses? So first of all, we obtain all the data of construction materials when we start working on the project. I'm speaking about database, and out of this database we obtain all the information, what type of construction materials we need, what is the scope, and etc., and so on. And of course, we need statistical calculation, and after that we design airflows. Here you also, I think, you feel the airflow, and sometimes you don't feel convenient. But if you do proper calculation, you will not feel inconvenience of air conditioning. Next step, when we start constructing, we use virtual constructing methodology. We make some kind of cartoon out of those databases that we get while doing the design, and we make this cartoon upon the needs of financing resources. When our bankers come to us and ask how did we spend our money, we can show them and this cartoon, and in this cartoon they can see what was the scope and all the rates of materials in the process of construction. Once we used this methodology, and it was very efficient. Our investor was really satisfied because we could visualize our actions, and all monitoring bodies were satisfied. And another step that we need to take is next step that we need to take is we need today we need to realize to work with respect to ESG agenda, which is the standard that is used by international investors and demanded to be used by international banks, and is a foundation of implementation of state regulators. And I'm speaking about environmental agenda, social agenda, energy efficiency agenda. And what is important? Model and database makes it possible to calculate carbon footprint. And this is one of the main requests when we work in Europe. There is a demand from modern investors. They always demand from us to make our buildings construct them in such a way that they should be easily utilized when it is necessary, and utilization should be environmentally friendly. And our database makes it possible to make this type of calculations, and we can see that it can bring to the fact that longevity of buildings will be prolonged. This is the sample of our project. Here you see the word energy efficiency because it is in a climatic, from geographical perspective, the same area similar to Uzbekistan. Climate is similar to Uzbekistan. This is an ice area, but in a under very hot temperatures, and even in summer we still keep ice inside. And similar object in Tashkent is Humo area. And who needs this? Who uses this data? Of course, first of all, constructors, builders, and this data also is very necessary, and they influence modern factories. I just would like to show you once again on my slide on the left. You know, our investor was very rich, and he wanted, together with his architect, to create this complex building from natural stone that was mined from Spain, and we made this tailor-made design for him, and then we sent this data to our Spanish contractor, and each stone element was numbered, and it was manufactured, and like constructor, like Lego, it was constructed on the site, on building site. Otherwise, it would take us a lot of efforts to really create it manually on the construction site. I can't even imagine how could we have done it without this, and we would have used a lot of resources and would have made a lot of mistakes and so on. And now I'd like just to speak about a company that we established here in Tashkent, and we are hiring personnel. And our first Opal experience was very successful. We have a lot of talented young people who are open to new knowledge. And for our colleagues from Europe, it's you know, they are like a good example. We don't see many young people in Europe who are so much open to obtaining new knowledges, and so these young professionals will create digital technologies, digital buildings, and we are going to sell them around the globe. Thank you very much, dear colleagues. Thank you, the organizers, for inviting me. Thank you very much.
Very comprehensive, and I think what we learned that data are not just a tool for construction, even they're an important tool for construction, but they're also a very great important tool for the asset itself after finalizing of construction, which goes to property management, which goes to investment financing, so that there is data available about the object, so to speak, which can be used also, and especially also in developing markets. There will be investment market coming in some years also here, so you already have the data, which is the requirements for many investors to have and to take. Yes, and compliments. I like that you already include the young talent in Uzbekistan. I think that's also what we learned the last 2 days here on the conference. There's a great potential. There's a great generation coming, so to speak, and this is probably the greatest asset the country has besides the rich cultural history. So you have the rich cultural history and you have the young people are coming, so these are really very good perspectives. So,
Thank you, Tony. You're welcome to the office, of course.
I won't do so, thank you. So we talked a lot about construction, but so it's great to have also a representative from a construction company here. So, and not only construction company, one of the biggest in the world. So one more question I'd like to address to Pang. I mean, so what we learned today, the transition to the green economy, carbon neutralization, social responsibility, these are all very, very challenging tasks. especially in developing countries. On the other hand, they also provide opportunities. I mean, they provide opportunity to learn from the mistakes we all made, you know, and they can also send a powerful signal to create an own identity for a country to be green and social responsibility as an investment market. So you're very active here, you have a great experience. So what are the goals you see of Uzbekistan to take a leading role in the Central Asian region, maybe in the field of green investments? And are there any specific investment opportunities, including renewable energy sector, that are unique to Uzbekistan? We understand the climate, which is already a great advantage compared to Germany, for example. So I'd love to hear from you. Thank you.
Thank you, dear moderator. I think I'm the last speaker to say something. We have the Ministry of the Construction and also the Ministry of the Investment to describe something regarding the government level for the stand and the policy guidelines, and also we have our good SQB. Also, it's one of my clients regarding the cost, construction costs, as well as our technical side regarding the green design, facade method, some way. So first, if you don't mind, moderator, I would like to say a little bit regarding my company before I answer your question.
Of course, it's a pleasure.
Thank you. Shanghai Construction, actually we are a state-owned enterprise. We're building 3 bank buildings, which is SQB. I just said one. The vice chairman is my clients, which is top. It's 33 highest top 33 floors, and also the Asaka and Aloka. So which just next beside this conference hall, and Shanghai Construction was established in 1943 and has a history close to 70 years. And in the past 70 years, we can see the picture right side. We built Shanghai from it's like a fishing village with the past 70 years to the economic center of China. In the last year, 2022, the annual revenue of Shanghai Construction reached up $43 billion, which ranked the number 7 on the list of the global contractor from the Engineering News record, and also ranked the number 321 of the global 500 Fortune 200 and 2022. We built some major project, which is the second super high-risk building in the world, which is Shanghai Tower, 632 meters. And as well as the Shanghai National Exhibition and Convention Center, which is the biggest in the world single building, close to 1.5 billion square meters. All right, I think, Monitor, for your questions, and I have 2 parts. I prepared a little bit, and I want to say something. So first, regarding the green investment, I think we have our company regarding the design part mostly, and I will say a little bit about investment according to my opinion. And secondly, regarding the subject today of the construction materials, building materials, investment and the development, I will say a little bit about regarding these 2 parts. So firstly, regarding the green investment, I think in Uzbekistan, we should establish policy systems to format the promote carbon reduction, enhance the resource and environmental carry capacity to realize the green development and struggle for the better Uzbekistan. I think this is a goal in my, according to my understanding. So for the green investment itself, so I believe the following points might be all already become the focus of the green investment in Uzbekistan. So the first, I believe, it's the energy part. As our director of the Ministry of the Investment just mentioned, in Tashkent, in Uzbekistan, we have more than 300 sunny days, which is very green energy. So I believe if we can promote the proportion of the renewable energy in Uzbekistan, so especially the solar and the wind part, I believe, which is in rich resource here. So according to some research, if we can promote the new energy part to be like 20%, 20 or 25%, so which can improve the economic efficiency like around 20%, and also like reduce the harmful gas around 10%. So I believe the energy part should be the very huge market for the green investment. So secondly, it's like the build low carbon transportation system. First, the infrastructure for the transportation system in Uzbekistan should be promoted, as well as the service systems. So and also the increase the proportion of the new energy vehicles is I think is the trend of the market here right now. The second, regarding the new technology, new transportation system, I believe. The third is about recycling of the recycling and reuse of the resource. So the system, I'm engineering. Actually, I learned the structures before. Actually, according to my study here, especially in Tashkent as a capital of the country, so the drainage and the sewage system should be very important as an infrastructure to this country, and also how to reuse the wastewater, rainwater, of course, as well as the solid waste, including the construction waste and also some part of the waste, and how we can recovery of the energy like heat, industry heat resource is also very important. So infrastructure promoted is very necessary to the part of the reuse and the recycle of the resource. It should be a very important part of the investment point. Lastly, I believe the scientific research would like to also be a good focus in the future of the green investment. For example, the drip irrigation. As I think the agriculture is a pillar industry in Uzbekistan. So I think like drip irrigation should be part of the new technology, green investment to promote the agriculture systems and industry here in Uzbekistan. So this is the first part. I will brief a little bit regarding your good question for the green investment. And secondly, for the subject today regarding the construction building material development, I would like to say a little bit, if you don't mind. So I think the rabbit of the development of the national economic has huge market, and the urban construction have promote higher requirement for the building materials, especially with a new project of New Tashkent, announced by President Mirziyoyev Yusuf, which is promote very private future of the engineering and also the material development. So there's nearly 13,000 manufacturing in Uzbekistan with more than 200 types of the material available. So the material supply chain in the construction market is gradually being improved. And I would like to brief a little bit regarding this material market. Firstly, total quantity control. I think it's an important task facing on the building material industry. Although the market here has experienced a little bit period of the rapid growth in its early stage, with the regular economic and large amount foreign investment. Market supply and demand for the construction materials has reached its balance and also gradually emerged a situation of the overcapacity. So therefore, it is urgent control. I believe it's urgent control to supply of the material here. So I would like to make an example. Before the 2022, there are 35 cement manufacturers with the annual production capacity around 26 million tons. So in the past 5 years, the local production can reach almost the demand of the local market. So within the 2 years, start from now, 2023 and 2024, there might be around nine plants will be invested here. So can increase the annual revenue, annual capacity around 13 million tons. I believe by the end of the 2014, the cement manufacturing capacity can be reached up 39 million tons. This is amazing figure, according to my understanding. So, secondly, structure adjustment also is a key task for the development of the Uzbekistan building material system. Traditional building material now is in the leading role and with a low technologically content and a high resource consumption. So some production also pollute the environment and cannot meet the requirement of the national economic and the modern building industry development. The development of the high technology building materials and equipment fall behind, such as some facade materials, for example. The building low resource consumption, low environmental pollution, energy safe and efficient building materials industry is very necessary and also a trend now. So the new technologies such as new wall materials, curtains, waterproofing materials, structure and decorative materials, and also like 3-dimension printing has become developed and used in a global construction period very well. This presents a good opportunity for Uzbekistan building material industry. Thirdly, policy guidance. So it's a very inventable method for the orderly and the healthy development building material market. In the early stage of the market development, factors like imperfect policy and regulations, outdated technology, and the lack of the tenants lead extensive development in the market, result in a state of unbalanced material production capacity management, and also the structure disorder. Encourage some build material enterprise to become bigger and stronger. Will gradually improve the supply of the market. Continuance adjust the industry policies and standards. So I think this is very important to the management systems for product quantity, safety, energy conservation, and also the environmental production stance, and also are the key to achieve an orderly and healthy environment in Uzbekistan. So this is some general opinion according on my understanding regarding the material industry of Uzbekistan. And last, I would like to advertise of Shanghai Consortium. So Shanghai and Tashkent are the officially sister cities. So I think that our minister might not know this. So I would like to welcome our guests, friends here to come to Shanghai and to be our guests to Shanghai Construction. Thank you. Rahman.
Thank you, Pang. That was very comprehensive, and again, it's very interesting to learn, especially from a construction company who is really on hands day to day on the job, basically, and especially the reuse and recycle and the recovery of materials. It's also something we are looking in Europe right now because there are many resources already available. We just have to find a way to reuse them again. That would solve a lot of problems we're having in today's time. So great to hear from you also that you're looking in that direction, and was very interesting. So we are coming to the end, so I'd like to thank one more time all participants for being here. So what we can say as a quick conclusion, what I've learned from today. So the first thing, the great heritage which you have comes with a great responsibility too. So Uzbekistan is known for its rich culture, heritage, which is also reflected in the architecture of the buildings, and very important in the way of life, the very special way of life, which you also should preserve, So as Uzbekistan is rapidly advancing with modern construction building, there's a great responsibility, but there's opportunities as well to not only preserve, but also to build the future upon the heritage by transforming the history and culture into modern buildings. So what we clearly see today and yesterday, that all measurements has been already taken, not only to attract investors, but also to create a better version of today. So thanks again. This was a very impressive panel today, and was very impressive today. So thanks again for having us here, and thanks to the panel for today. Thank you.